Hello guys, in this video I'll be showing you every AK-47 skin for every budget. Keep in mind, the prices will go from the lowest to the highest. Also, the prices are taken from Steam. I also recommend buying these skins on other pages, not on Steam Market because it's cheaper. For example, you can check on CS Float or D Market or something like that. And no, this is not sponsored. I will include all the prices for every wear of the skin. Also, keep in mind, I will be telling you which wear is the best for your money. Starting off with the Safari Mesh AK-47. This is the cheapest AK you can get. Also, I recommend getting this one in minimal wear condition since it looks the best. And it's also not very expensive. Next up, the Uncharted AK-47. Now this one looks way better than the Safari Mesh AK and it's pretty cheap. You can get it in a minimal wear condition for around 30 cents. I think it looks pretty clean for its price, and I recommend getting this one over the Safari Mesh. Next up, the Elite build AK-47. Now I also recommend getting this one in at least field tested condition. I mean, this AK looks pretty clean, it's nothing special, but it's a good looking AK. Next up, the Steel Delta AK-47. Now this one looks like a Damascus steel finish. Keep in mind, in worse wear, like Balscar, it looks really brown, but I do recommend getting this one in at least field tested condition. Next up, the Emerald Pinstripe AK. Now for this one, the wear doesn't matter because it looks the same in anywhere. I also don't really like this skin. It looks pretty boring in my opinion, but you can get it if you like it. Next up, the Slate AK-47. Now for this one, you can put any stickers you want and you can make yourself any team you want with this one. Because it's a black AK, you can really craft anything that you want with it, and I do recommend getting this one. It's pretty cool. Next up, the Safety Net AK-47. Now for this one, you have to get it in minimal wear condition for it to look good. Now I don't really like this AK, it looks pretty cheap in my opinion. It's one of the oldest skins, that's why it looks so bad, and I do not recommend getting this one. Next up, the Rat Rod AK-47. Now this one looks brownish in Balscar condition, and I do recommend getting this one for a brown team inventory. I think it fits the team well, and it looks pretty decent. Next up, the Phantom Disruptor AK-47. Now you should buy this one in at least field tested condition for it to look clean. And I do recommend getting this one if you want yourself a budget yellow team inventory. It looks pretty clean, nice art on it, and it's good. Next up, the Ice Cold AK-47. Now you should buy this one in field tested condition at least. I think it fits well for a blue or a green teamed inventory. And it's really shiny, so I do recommend getting this one. It looks nice. Next up, the Legion of Anubis AK-47. I also recommend getting this one in at least field tested condition. Now, this AK looks really good in my opinion. The art is really nice behind it. If you like this kind of theme, like Greek gods, you should get this one. Next up, the Nightwish AK-47. Now, this one changes to purple if you're in a dark place, and it changes to blue if you're in a shiny place where the sun is shining. I do recommend getting this one in at least field tested condition, and it's a pretty good looking AK in my opinion. Next up, the Jungle Spray AK-47. Now you should buy this one in at least well-worn condition for it to look good, but I do not recommend getting this one for a green team inventory since there are better options than this one, but it looks okay in my opinion, but there are better options. Next up, the Headshot AK-47. Now you should buy this one in at least minimal wear condition for it to have no scratches, and I do recommend getting this one if you like shinier skins or flashier skins. It's okay, I don't really like it, but it's a good looking skin. Next up, the Baroque Purple AK-47. Now you should buy this one in at least field tested condition for it to have no scratches. If you want yourself a purple team inventory, you can buy this one, but there are better options. Next up, the Point Disarray AK-47. Now you should buy this one in at least field tested condition for it to look good. And this is good for a mix of a blue and red teamed inventory. I think it's a good looking AK, not bad, and it's also pretty cheap. Next up, the Frontside Misty AK-47. Now you should buy this one in at least field tested condition for it to look really clean. I do recommend getting this one if you want yourself a blue team inventory, and it looks good. Next up, the Blue Lemonade AK-47. Now the wear for this one doesn't really matter because it looks the same in all wears. I do recommend putting some blue stickers on it because it looks really clean. I do recommend getting this one for a blue team inventory, and it looks really good. Next up, the Cartel AK-47. Now for this one the wear doesn't matter because it's just darker in Balscar, and it has a nice artwork to it, so I do recommend getting it. It's not bad, it's a simplistic AK skin. Next up, the Green Lemonade AK-47. Now same as the Blue Lemonade, the wear for this one doesn't matter because it just looks darker in Balscar. I also recommend putting some green stickers on it. Next up, the Red Line. Now you should get this one in at least field tested condition for it to look good, and people really like this one because you have so many options to craft a different skin. You can put any sticker you want and it looks good. Next up, the Orbit MK01. Now this one looks darker in Balscar condition, and I do recommend getting this one for a darker red teamed inventory. It looks okay, it's nothing special, but it's a good looking skin, not bad. Next up, the Neon Revolution AK. I recommend getting this one in at least field tested condition, and it looks good for its price. I mean, everyone can pretty much afford this. Next up, the Aquamarine Revenge AK. Now, I do recommend getting this one in at least field tested condition for it to look good. And this is a nice looking skin for a green or a red teamed inventory. It has a unique art to it. I really like the art. And yeah, I do recommend getting this one. Before we move on, if you enjoyed so far, consider liking the video and subscribing. Also, if you're interested in more videos like this one, check out my other videos that I post on my channel. Next up, the Elite Museo AK. Now, for this one, the wear doesn't matter because it just looks darker in worse wear. Many people don't like this AK because it looks terrible, in my opinion also. But yeah, if you like it, get it. It's not bad. Next up, the Predator AK-47. Now, I do recommend getting this one in at least minimal wear condition for it to look good. But I also do not recommend getting it just because it's expensive due to being used in trade-ups. There are better options for a green teamed inventory. Next up, the Asimo AK. Now I do recommend getting this one in at least minimal wear condition for it to look good. And if you want yourself a fully teamed Asimov inventory, you need to buy this. Even though it's a little expensive, I mean, it's good for people who like Asimovs. Next up, the Neon Rider AK. Now I recommend getting this one in at least minimal wear condition for it to look good. Now this one is good looking for a Vice teamed inventory. Pairs really well with the Vice gloves and a Fade knife. It looks really good in my opinion. Nice art, and yeah, buy it. Next up, the Empress AK. Now for this one, I do recommend getting it in at least field tested, but in worse wear it just looks darker. And this is a good looking skin for a little more expensive price, but I do recommend getting it since the art is really nice and it's pretty shiny. Next up, the Black Laminate AK. Now just like the other laminate skins, I do recommend putting some white stickers on this one if you want a black and white team. And it's good looking, nothing special, but it looks clean with stickers on it. Next up, the Wasteland Rebel skin. Now for this one, you need to buy it in at least field testing condition for it to look good. I do recommend getting this one if you want yourself a black and white team inventory. Although there are better options, it's not a bad looking AK. Next up, the Jaguar AK. I do recommend getting this one in at least field testing condition for it to look good. And if you want yourself a jungle team inventory, you should buy this one, although there is another option for it. But yeah, this one is not bad either. Next up, the Red Laminate AK. Now, just like any other laminate skin, the worse the wear is, the darker it is. And I do recommend getting this one, and I even personally use this one with some really nice red stickers. I think it looks pretty clean for a red team inventory, and yeah, if you like laminate skins, buy this. It's pretty good looking. Next up, the Inheritance AK. Now, this is the newest AK skin. I think it looks good. It's like a mix of a called a Rebesque AK and a Prince AVP. And yeah, if you like it, buy it. It's not bad. Next up, the First Class AK. Now, I do not recommend getting this one since it's really expensive due to being used in trade-ups and there are better options for a green teamed inventory. Next up, the Vulcan AK. Now, this is one of the OG skins and I do recommend getting it in at least minimal condition for it to look good. And this skin is really popular. Everyone can recognize it, so I do recommend getting it. It's a really clean looking AK. Next up, the Bloodsport AK. Now, I do recommend getting this one if you want to buy a little more expensive red teamed AK. I think it looks pretty cool. Some people might not like it because there's so much stuff on the skin, but I think it looks pretty decent. Also, the wear doesn't matter. It's just darker in Balskar condition. Next up, the Fuel Injector AK. Now, for this one, the wear doesn't matter since it's just darker in Balskar condition. Now, this is also one of the OG AKs, and I think it looks pretty good for a yellow team inventory. It's also a little more expensive, but it looks really good in my opinion. Nice artwork. Next up, the Pantera Onka AK. Now you should get this one in at least field tested condition for it to look good. Also, this is the better option instead of the Jaguar AK, and you should buy this one and pair it with the yellow banded gloves, and it looks pretty good. Really nice looking team, yellow and black, and yeah, buy it. Next up, the AK-47 case hardened. Now for this one, the worse the wear, the darker it is, and this skin has so much potential. With every different pattern, it looks way different. Now the one I'm showing you is the most expensive pattern ever. It's estimated around $500,000 with a stat rack on it. Next up, the Jet Set AK-47. Now for this one, the wear doesn't matter. Also, this AK looks like a postcard just on an AK-47. I also do not recommend getting it since it's really expensive due to being used in trade-ups. But it's a unique looking skin. If you like it, you can get it. Next up, the X-Ray AK-47. Now this is also one of the OG AKs. I mean, it looks pretty shit, but if you put some red teamed stickers on it, it looks good, decent, and I recommend getting it in at least field testing condition. Also keep in mind it's pretty expensive due to being so old. Next up, the Fire Serpent AK-47. Now this is also one of the OG AKs. I recommend getting it in at least minimal wear condition for it to look clean. And if you put one crown foil sticker on it, it looks so good, it is crazy. It's really simplistic, but a lot of people like it. Next up, the hydrophonic AK-47. Now this is also one of the OG AKs, and due to being so old, it's really expensive, and you have to get it in at least minimal wear condition for it to look really clean. Now not many people use this one, but I do recommend getting it if you want a lime green themed inventory. Next up, the Gold Arabesque AK. Now if you want yourself a gold themed inventory, you have to buy this AK. Even though it's pretty expensive, you can even buy it in Ballast card since it will look only darker and less shinier. But if you want it to look at least decent looking, you have to buy it in field testing condition. And I do recommend getting this one, it's really cool looking. And the last AK skin, the White Lotus AK. Now this skin is really expensive due to it being so rare, and I do recommend getting it if you have the budget for it, because the artwork looks so nice. And you can even put some gold web foil stickers on it and scratch them fully, so the craft looks really unique. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and leaving a like. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And if you have any ideas of what you want to see next, feel free to comment down below also. That's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.